Good morning. Welcome to the breakfast show. Now, we did see the last Friday in the market muted, but that hasn't occurred to our KLCI, the continued downtrend that we've seen since the last red pentagon, which we have warned many of our members. When you see red pentagon or yellow trend zone, you don't need to be in the market. But today we'll be talking about defensive stocks for beginner, and one way to do that is using our SMARTRobie FA collection in here, and that's more if you stick around to the end of this talk. And do share this video in your timeline so more people can benefit. Now let's get on to what we have for you this morning in our SMARTRobie. Now, of course, the continuing carnage that we see in the stock market due to the higher inflation rate, and also the ex-Fed chairperson Janet Yellen did talk about the inevitable of recession. So recession is already been priced in pretty much in the market, and that's what we're seeing it. But this is likely to be next year. If you are looking into recession next year, usually the stock market would already priced in, and that's why we are seeing likelihood this market will probably stagnant, maybe at least for the next couple of months. But of course, the November 2022 may provide midterm election that we've seen in US may provide a little bit of catalyst to what's going up in the market. The market need to take in good news coming in. As long as the tapering or the peak of the inflation, then we will see likelihood of some interest rate being raised. But of course, more interest rate being raised, likelihood to becoming more expensive. Can you imagine the cost of finance, your credit card, your housing loan become more expensive? And what sector will be affected? Definitely your property sector. Of course, right now in the Bank Negara, so far the our Bank Negara governor has refused to raise interest rate, as this would also dampen the economic recovery that we've seen, and also some of the stocks I do think that continue to fall off. But watch out for all these travel stocks. And let's go and look at what we have this morning. If you look from our SMARTRobie in here at the KLCI, switching to a wider chart in here, you would have noticed the market right now is down 8 points. That's right, down 8 points in here, continue to go on. And likelihood, where is the next support? Many of you guys are probably answering in here, and let me just show you where it's likely to be. But today's sharing is about talking about defensive stock. For those of you are thinking to want to buy on this dip in here, so far we have not seen the bottom yet in here, but I'm going to share with you likelihood our KLCI where is the bottom, and that's where you want to start talking. Of course, at the same time, we want to be talking and looking at some of these good fundamental shares, and also strong demand for its product and the company. And of course, they always think to buy on the green pentagon and sell at a specific target profit. I don't think we want to be carrying on for longer trade in here, as many of these stocks continue to linger with the uncertainty of the economy recovery because of the higher costs of petrol, which actually go into food production. And at the same time, market is undergoing volatility in here. The list that you want to be looking at will definitely be the Robie FA list. This is the list we're talking about, which is highly rated collection with green pentagon. Of course, our green pentagon, many of you already know, this is actually part of the Follow the Smart Money by the work of the father of volume spread analysis, Tom Williamson here. But what we did in Trade VSA is to create the Pentagon Guider, which makes the green pentagon an up signal and the down pentagon with the down indication, which tells you what likelihood where the market is moving higher. Now let's look at the KLCI this morning. Having seen here, the next support for the KLCI is definitely at 1400. We still got another made perhaps of 40 points going down in here. We are still in red pentagon, as I said before. What we are also seeing on the UX Wix, the market fear index continue to be in the high 30s. So if it stays above that, then more downside to be going. So we want to be looking for the green pentagon. Of course, on hindsight that you see here, this green pentagon that appeared on the 31st of May was more of a decoy to distribute by foreign funds. We did know a lot of foreign funds coming in, and one of the ways to check it out in here is to go over to the I believe is the KLCI chart, and you're able to see that over there. But of course, the hot sector right now, I think still will be REITs and finance, construction, and consumer. All right, so the finance, because of the raising of the interest rate, we were likely to see many of this company that in the financial services will tend to do well because of higher income margin in here. Now, we want to look back on last Monday, some of the trade idea we talked about, but more importantly, we all know on the backdrop, keep in mind, with the KLCI rate Pentagon, many of these stocks likelihood to fall further or fall down. But keep in mind, what is also important is the dividend payout. All right, you can see here we actually picked two stocks, Lotte Chemical with a dividend of 19.6%, which is a very exceptional because they did have a big dividend payout, but the PE of 6 times, right? PE of 6 times in here, and also Perak Transit of a dividend yield of 4.5%, which is actually a hub transport in Perak with a PE of 9.4 times. So that is relatively low value. And should the PE be evaluated higher, you can see this stock definitely go up. But of course, that have to come from stronger quarterly earnings. But keep in mind those two stocks that we have. Of course, last week we saw Lotte Chemical that you see on the left hand side, and this was where the setup it is for the episode 176. But unfortunately, the market was not ready. You can see from here on chart number 2, immediately after that we see the huge volume that actually comes out on here. Right, so once you see those volume, we saw the big sell-off, which also coincide with the KLCI and the market to break below the ATR stop loss. So this trade, eventually you have to cut loss if you have this. All right, remember, also take note, we have this 2 moving average, okay, what we call the railway track, still pointing down. If you look on the left hand side, when the railway track is pointing upwards, that is where you have higher probability of moving higher. But right now, the 2 moving average is still pointing down, which is a lagging indicator in here, and also Pentagon guider is a leading indicator. All right, so with that in mind, the lagging indicator still comes into play, and that's why the market broke below the 2 ringgit, so the trade does not validate itself. And you can see spotted and 211 broke below the ATR stop loss at 2 ringgit, so that's a loss around about 4 to 5%. And the other trade, which is Perak Transit, which we talk about in here, pay a 4.5% in here. It did form a double bottom, and remember, when the market hits on that day, it actually pops back down, but broke through, and we see a red pentagon. And anytime when you see red pentagon, we have to be very cautious, because if you have the strong volume coming in, right, then you will likely have to break down. But you can see from here the market has a dip down, all right, a nice wash here, but the volume is just tend to be quite average, and the market is holding up in here. So you can see also the moving average. You can see this 2 moving average, the railway track is still on the upside, pretty much showing it. But again, it does look like this Perak Transit is thus distributing, but the fundamental still remain to be good in here. So something that our audience should take note if you are looking at some good fundamental stocks. Of course, on the backdrop of what we see in the KLCI in here, many things is not going to go straight up. It's like the move sideways or against deep back, but won't as fall as much as we've seen on the other sectors that we've seen in technology and also in rubber glove in here. So keep that in mind. So we spotted at 73.5, and turn rate Pentagon, okay, go back to 70 cents, and right now is about 71 cents in here. Now, one way to look at it is actually go on to SMARTRobie. I think many of you would have known. Go to SMARTRobie and see the middle FA Robie list, and this is the list that you have. And of course, we have the Robie FA intraday alert, which is 5246 Westport. That's right, Westport. That's the one we'll be looking at in here, and it is up 0.5%. Of course, Westport is playing into the economic recovery in here as more export base moving through the North Port North Port Terminal, and that's where they likely to benefit. Of course, they do have another port, I believe, also in Johor, right? And that will benefit from this. So remember, right now we'll be looking at the Robie FA list, and you can see from here, we have this list here, and there was only 3 shares in here, right? The hot one is Sindex, which we didn't talk about in some of our previous episode, and also in our live FB, looking purely from a fundamental because we want to play defensive. Okay, now we see from defensive, Nestle is a Robie rating of 5. And under consumer products, we know that, you know, rain or shine, people still need to eat their Maggi Mee, people still need to drink their Milo in here, and that seems to be. Now Pentagon did turn red Pentagon on the 14th, right? It actually turned green Pentagon, and immediately there was another red sell-off in here. Westport is transportation in here, turned green Pentagon on the 16th, I think that was about a few days ago, and then Sintex on the 17th. You can see the weekly resistance is 363. Alright, if it does break above the 363, that would be great. Support is at 338. Alright, let's take a look at the Nestle stocks that we have. Alright, so right front here you can see Nestle. No, this is Westport, right? The setup in here, but take note again, as I said before, these can be a bit premature. You do have the downtrend. Remember, Pentagon Guider is a leading indicator. At times, if the market do agree with it, right, then the market will turn. You are coming in very early, but if it does take out this upthrust in here, that seems to be very good. And you can see this 2 moving average is in a downtrend slope. All right, so take a look at the stocks that we have this morning on Westport. You can see KLCI continued to sell down this morning by 6 points, and that's why we see the KLCI is down by 8 points. That is, so we look at Westport. WRTP. No, I think it's Westport. Westport system here, Westport holding. You can see this is the 1 hour chart. We switch to a daily chart here, and you can see this is very nice. So the overall resistance 363, that's the one you want to pay attention, just like the weekly resistance if it does take out that week. And then we will review next week what would happen. Would the market continue to fall down? But having said that, the volume right now it's a bit low. You can see there's a nice volume here, there's some low volume in here. If the volume does come in and take off, that's where you will have a nice follow through. All right, let's look at the Westport. Is rated 6 out of 8, and we hit on 5246. Let's look at the fundamental, of course, and you can see fundamentals for Westport is 6 out of 8 with the ROE of 25, a 5% dividend. So it is a dividend player and stocks. Of course, on the longer term, you switch to a weekly chart, you can see it still hasn't turned green Pentagon, but it does have some support here around the 363, going up as high as 450. Right, so it tend to, you know, go up and down, this kind of stock. It doesn't grow tremendous, but over years, if we take it from a longer term, from 2018 it was around $3. Right now it's 360. That is a nice upside in here. It's not one of those growth stock, it's one of those nice steady stock with ROE of 25 times. Pretty good, right? And it is on the transportation business with market cap almost 12.2 billion. Now the next stock that we keep in mind is Nestle. This is the one that actually turned green Pentagon, hit 138, but guess what? There's a lot of seller coming in, and that's why we see what we see on the chart here. So 139, 138 seems to be the resistance, and when the resistance is, stocks people want to exit in here. That's why we see. So let's take a look at the Nestle 4707. There we go, stock fundamentals. Of course, stock fundamental, ROE for Nestle is always one of the highest, just like DG in here, because they are cash rich, but the P is 51 times, which make it a slightly expensive, but that could also account both to the ROE. Dividend is only paying about 1.8%, right? Of course, maybe they can do better and pay a bit more for that. And also they are doing very well in terms of equity, continuing to generate a lot of cash flows, and that usually what is defensive stock does. Of course, the valuation of it has to come from a little bit of growth in here, right? So right now we can see what else, the target price is 151 on a PE of 59 times, okay, which is a potential of 15.6% in here. So that is the tail of the two defensive stock that we talk about, Westport and Nestle. Okay, in summary, we really want to talk about the continuing, for beginners. Today is the focus of it for the SMARTRobie, to look in those shares for lower PE and very, very good ROE, the return of equity. So if the return of equity is in the high double digit, that likely to be a good stock to be. Of course, that doesn't mean the stock will not take beating, as we've seen the downtrend in the market here. This is also due to the bearish sentiment, and perhaps there's a lot of false breakout. So watch out for the double moving average. This is pointing upwards, which does tell you the stock is ready to move higher. Overall, focus on the Robie FA rating. And of course, for those of you who needed the SIDC 10 CPE point, we will be doing our CPE on the 7th of July. That will be a Thursday. We'll start at 8:45 to 4 p.m. If you need the 10 points, this is something that you considered signing on in here, right? The more information on tradevsa.com/workshop. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel in here, and all things in here. And of course, for those of you who are ready to upgrade to our VSA 360, which we do cover on Friday exceptionally, and also today is the starting day for our 20-day live challenge for our member plugin and the masterclass. I wish you all the good luck, and of course, I know it's going to be very challenging because the KLSE is still selling down, but there it might be some trades on the intraday, right? So do keep an eye for them. This morning, my morning scanning around 9:30, I could not find much in here, but of course, our system in here continue to give good reviews to in here. All right, so right now we are on to the stock list. Some of you people may want to look at a couple of stock lists. Do pencil those in here. I'm happy to look at them. And also don't forget to go over to our Google Play Store and also our Apple Store to give us a comment on those. If you have any stock. Okay, they have one on Pokong, okay, and the other one is on Steel Counter. All right, we can look at some Steel Counter in here. I think steel prices has fallen a fair bit. So steel, we will look at Ta'an for being one. Ta'an, I think Ta'an is a steel, right, if not mistaken. Yeah, Ta'an. Yep, continue to fall off. We can look at the CSC steel. Okay. Yep, it's still on the downtrend here. Just need to wait for the green pentagon. Not that difficult. Okay. Pokong may benefit from the what we call the gloves. The gold stock, but unfortunately, it seems to be breaking down on lower volume in here. So you have a double top here. This was the the part that it was trying to go higher, but you have a yellow and the red pentagons coming in soon. So do take note, if there's a red pentagon, you need to exit. Yeah, you need to exit on that purpose in here. Okay, but breaking down the 80 cent doesn't seem to be good. Of course, when you buy stocks like Pokong, it's going to be pretty much on trending kind of stocks. Right now, just moving sideways in here. You did see this huge volume in here, we believe those kind of volume are usually distribution volume. You got a double top, so the market is likely going to test to the downside here, and if you do see 3-bar down, you might want to buy on the support and quickly take profit, very small profit in here. It's going to be pretty much trading stocks in here. So steel wise, not so good, okay, and you can go on to the VSA 360 and looking some of the steel counter stocks inside there, that would help. And if you can go over to our F screener and you go to the sector gainer here, right, this is something where you can dwell in and look at the steel stocks, okay, and not this one here, this screener here, and you look at the sector gain, I think we had to look at the other one. I can't remember. Just trying to remember which one is off my head here. Probably is the sector index. The EPS. No, I think it's the, yeah, we have to use the sector gainer. That's right. So sector gainer, you go over to the industry, right, and then you look from there. And you go over to industrial products and you click submit, right, and you can see on the left hand side you probably see a lot of steel company coming up, okay, so that's how you want to look for that one, right, and just screen this and you go to steel. You can see a lot of these stocks are still in the red, chemical, diversified, industrial, right. And this is the one, the metals, okay. So you can see from the metals, many of these stocks, with Mestron seems to be okay, only one, Mestron. So that's how you want to look for those stocks, Mestron. But again, these are very small companies, okay. So because they're very small company, it's tend to make it very volatile, and you may not be able to exit to get the kind of volume and price. What I'm trying to say, there's not much. It's 34 cents, as I said before, okay. Mestron is definitely one of these stocks in here, right, but we prefer those above 47 cents here, right, 47 cents in here. And you can see there's a lot of resistance at the top here. Probably you are going for 3 to 4%, the kind of things in here. Okay, so if there is no more stocks we want to review, we will conclude this morning in here. Thank you for your time, and don't forget to share and join our Telegram chat room for all education in here. We thank you for your time in here, and continue to see you later. Don't join me on Wednesday night and spread the good words around about Trade VSA to your friends and colleagues so they will benefit too. Thank you again.